Let them know they can just run around. A grounded theory approach to parents' perceptions of high-quality preschools in Kenya. Presented by Lisa Solin, Mary Kimani, Sean Rocco of School of Education, James Cook University. Let them know they can just run around. A grounded theory approach to parents' perceptions of high-quality preschools in Kenya. Presented by Lisa Solin, Mary Kimani, Sean Rocco of School of Education, James Cook University. This presentation is based on a study of Kenyan parents' perceptions of an ideal early childhood education environment for their children. 23 parents who are professionals, have young children, and live in Nairobi were interviewed for this study. Data were then analyzed using a constructivist grounded theory approach as proposed by Chamas 2003 and 2006, and findings retold through constructed conversations between parents, honoring their voices and showcasing them as advocates for quality early childhood education and care. Parents reported that quality programs included playfulness, freedom, and purpose, and that it took a partnership of teacher, child, and parent to realize the ideal. This paper engages the audience with the voices of the research participants through a collective story. It is intended that this story will precipitate discussions about how parents can become informants and co-respondents with researchers, teachers, and administrators to develop high-quality early childhood education. Before I proceed with the main presentation, I just want to go through the overview of the presentation. It starts with an introduction and then goes to define what is high-quality early childhood education and care, and looks at the cultural specificity, and also looks at parents' voice as a missing link within the definitions of quality. It also looks at parents' voices, and then I present discussions and conclusions. The site of this study is urban Nairobi, and in particular parents who are professionals with children in private for-profit preschools. Just a small background about the country. Kenya gained independence from British rule in 1963. It has a population of about 42 million people. The national language is Kiswahili, and the instructional language is English. The capital city where this study was taken is Nairobi, and it has a population of about 3 million people. The growth rate for Nairobi is about 4.4%, and it houses about 22% of total number of preschools in Kenya. Just to give us a perspective of the place where this research was taken, it's good to look at the objectives of early childhood development in Kenya, as it is stated in the policy document that guides early childhood education in Kenya. And as can be seen, the early childhood education is supposed to provide education geared towards development for the child's mental and physical health capacities. It's also supposed to help the child identify the child with special needs and align him or her with existing services, improve the status of the child's health care and nutritional needs, and link him or her with healthy services such as immunization, health checkups, and growth and monitoring and promotion. But it is important to note that early childhood education emphasizes hands-on skills, manipulation of real objects and models, observation of living and non-living, and thematic learning. Now, what one would want to understand is this exemplified in the practices that are within the different early childhood education centers. Setting the scene. In order to understand the context in which parents have to choose early childhood services for their children, it is important to see the kind of education system that is in Kenya. Now, the education system in Kenya is highly competitive, and for this reason, parents see the need to enroll their children in the best preschools. Enrolling their children in these preschools is seen to give a head start to the child, and also as a way of setting trajectories for their future development in terms of education. There is a consensus that parents are well placed to know their children's needs, and that meeting these needs is an important element of high-quality education and care. However, there is a surprising absence of parents' perspectives sought or expressed in the existing body of literature, linking into the debate on what constitutes high quality in early childhood services. There are also tensions in perceptions of quality as objective and measurable or subjective and varies, and therefore must be negotiated involving parents and teachers as well as administrators and researchers. Justification of the study. A number of world trends have contributed to the emphasis of early childhood education in Kenya. Among them include Bernard Van Leer, UNICEF, World Bank, Aga Khan Foundations, OECD, UNESCO, and all these have provided funding at one point or another to Kenya in the development of early childhood education. Other trends are the Universal Declaration for Human Rights Convention, the Jotiam World Declaration Education for All in 1990, Dakar Framework on Education for All in 2000. All these have contributed to Kenya developing a national childhood policy framework which governs and guides the establishment of early childhood services in the country. But however, one of the questions that remains is where is the voice of the parents in all this? Are parents' voice expressed? Are parents' voice represented in the policies that have been developed? And this study sought to establish that. It is a direct experience of the competitive education environment and concern for what effects it may be having on children, families, and societies that motivated the study reported here. This competitive education environment raises important questions. First, about what constitutes high-quality early childhood education. Second, the role of parents in defining quality and acting in the best interests of their children. And finally, how these issues of quality and acting in the best interests of the child are contextualized within and by historically constituted social conditions and cultures. The method of the study. This study interviewed 23 parents living in Nairobi. It was an in-depth, informal face-to-face semi-structured interviews, and the data were coded by comparing data with data to identify patterns of similar incidents. Identified patterns were then coded with a name that represented their conceptual content. Codes were compared further to identify similarities in a process of merging and refining until broad themes and cascading sub-themes emerged, a process referred to by Chamas as forecast coding. Findings and discussions. The main theme that emerged from the data is the ideal, the three players. Three players emerged as the main actors in high-quality preschool, that is the child, the teacher, and the parent. The school and the home emerged as two important spaces in realizing the ideal. Supporting early development and learning of children is seen as the combined responsibility of the teacher in the preschool and the parent at home. Play emerged as central in bringing the ideal into fruition and was seen as the merging point between the ideal and the real, standing for the kind of services that parents were receiving in Kenya. The ideal, the three players. Three players, the child, the teacher, and the parent emerged central in parents' descriptions of an ideal preschool. Parents were concerned about the well-being of their children, conceptualized as affording children opportunities for play, freedom, and autonomy. Such opportunities were considered as legitimate rights for children, and the teacher and parent being responsible. Parents saw these rights and responsibilities as being played out in two contexts, the home and the school. Three players, the child, the parent, and the teacher, was designated as a general theme that captures parents' ideals about high-quality early childhood education and care programs. Further exploration of the pattern linking the concomitant rights and responsibilities of the three players uncovered a sub-theme presented under the child, which became known as Let the Child Be a Child, We present parents' descriptions of the ideal preschool under the subheadings of each of the three players: the child, the teacher, and the parent. The teacher and the parent are then further discussed under the subheadings teacher-parent relationship, which emerged as a major ingredient in discussions of the ideal preschool. The child. The theme, Let the Child Be a Child, is comprised of four significant elements of high-quality early childhood service provision: unstructured time, interpersonal relationships, play, and exploration. Parents' responses were clearly framed by an awareness of the purposeful, yet carefree experiential nature of childhood. Implicit and explicit references were made to the importance of play and the significance of relationships with others for the intellectual, emotional, physical, and social development of the child. Parents stressed that children should be afforded time and space to control, learn, and develop at their own pace. Parents believed that children did not need to be forced to learn, but should be free and safe to experiment and explore their environment. The other sub-theme under the child is Let the Child Be Free. Parents repeatedly described early childhood as a time of freedom, to be carefree and to explore and experiment without fear of failure or reprimand from adults. These descriptions were frequently punctuated by the phrase, Let the child be a child, and included both implicit and explicit concern that children were being coerced to fit into adult structures and expectations, within which they were being denied a chance to be children. Ideally, parents wanted children to be afforded time and space to do what they wanted. Their descriptions of the ideal were juxtaposed with their experiences of structured learning, where adults dictate what children do with their time and space. Put together, there was a strong sense of the desire to let the child be free, to have more control and power over what and how they learned. Let the child be playful. The need for the child to play was another distinguishing feature of parents' ideal preschool. In fact, Let the Child Play was the phrase most frequently used by all parents. They talked about giving children time, space, and resources for play. Parents considered play to be the natural occupation for young children and crucial to the development and learning. As can be seen from the screen, parents wanted their children to play. For example, a boy stated, I would allow him to be a child. What I have in mind is give the third child enough time to play, enough time to explore. They just play with each other, learn how to relate, and acquire social skills, allowing the children to grow as children, to go through the clear stages of development. Another parent, Didi, says, it feels like they have been denied the chance to be children, the chance to grow as children and play. I would let a child be a child. The researcher also wanted to know why parents valued play. And as is seen, Manyasi says play adds up to the total learning process of a child. And Akol says children like to play, and most of the time that is their life. Playing is their life. If you can especially incorporate that with learning, then you make learning easy and something they easily adapt to, but basically because they just want to play. And Waboy says children learn especially through play. Give that child enough time to play. Let the child be purposeful. Let the child be purposeful refers to the bridge between let the child be free and let the child be playful. Parents recognize the child's ability to learn by exploring their environment through play. Free play was considered especially important in availing opportunities for the child to explore and discover, and more importantly, becoming an independent learner. Accordingly, it is through free play that children learn to learn, explore their creativity, make and obey rules, and make decisions. Ideally, children need spaces and places to be, to do, to learn, and to interact with others instead of being dictated to and restricted by the adults. Parents realize the importance of working together with teachers to realize the ideal, and this is covered under the teacher-parent relationship. Parents emphasize the importance of the social context availed by the preschool in facilitating and supporting the development of their children. Although parents considered play to be natural for children, they highlighted the importance of the adult input, both in terms of guiding such play and in making rich play experiences by availing the necessary opportunities, support, and resources. Human interactions and relationships are crucial, with the adult playing a critical role in the early development and learning of the child, underscored by Vygotsky's idea of zone of proximal development, Vygotsky, 1978. He argued that adults' pedagogical activities in the preschool setting have the potential of not only providing the direct experiences that scaffold and promote children's learning, but also supply the material and models for behavior that guide children's own succeeding play activities. The tone and structure of parents' claims when asked to describe an ideal preschool made it apparent that the ideal is something that is constructed, something for which we can and must take responsibility. Parents used such phrases as, "We have to structure," "We should leave the child some time," "We should concentrate more on that kind of environment," "We must look for a program that balances." So who are the we? An analysis of interviews with parents highlighted that the we are teachers and parents. Teachers and parents determine what happens at school and at home, respectively, whether children have the freedom to be children, to be playful, to be purposeful. Each must be willing to give space to the other to perform their roles effectively, but they must also be willing to work together and perform complementary roles to maximize benefits for children. To conclude my presentation, I just want us to think about our own countries and ask ourselves, how do the findings of this study relate to your own country? Are there features of high-quality early childhood education and care programs that are unique to parents' descriptions from those of professionals and researchers in your own country? How could we bridge the gap, if any, in defining high-quality early childhood programs among the different stakeholders? What do you think about cultural specificity in defining high-quality early childhood education programs? Conclusions. Analysis of data reveals that parents are aware of what constitutes quality early childhood education and care, and that their description of quality is congruent with that of professionals and researchers, contrary to the notion of their lack of knowledge as presented by many scholars. Therefore, different conclusions could be drawn from the data that is presented: that parents are knowledgeable about attributes of high-quality early childhood education programs. 2, that parents in this study voice the importance of 3 players in the ideal preschool, that is the child, the parent, and the teacher. The child in this ideal would be free to be a child, free to play, and purposeful. The 2 other players, the parent and the teacher, ideally build relationships and partnerships to best support children's learning and development. Teacher-parent partnership extends between the school and the home and helps to identify needs and implement intervention, both at school and at home. Another conclusion is that parents appear ready to be invited into a relationship of co-responsibility, as stated by Leonard 2005, but are at the same time compliant with and stymied by a historically constituted system that circumscribes that possibility. Also, the characteristics and processes of high-quality early childhood education environment should be consistent with the kind of world, country, and citizenry desired as set out in national documents and curricula, and or with widely agreed upon rights for children. Another thing is that there should be a holistic view of quality early childhood education and care. For example, an early childhood program deemed of high quality successfully prepares children for formal schooling but coerces children to acquire high marks would not be considered of quality. What are the implications on policy and practice of these findings? 1, that providing quality preschool services is a concerted effort among all stakeholders and building relationships. 2, that access to early care and education that values childhood as a place that honors children's capacity for learning through relationship will serve the interests of both individuals and democracy. And 3, that childhood should be recognized as a political site, a site that honors all children and their right to quality care and education. Asanteni sana. Thank you.